So this is Bad Printer, which is a patch that I've had in production for a really long time. And I, somewhere along the way, moved from semi-retired to very retired. But I do have a little bit of an emeritus status going on here where I'm going to release this and some other stuff. I don't have a timetable. I don't have a schedule for that. Bad Printer is it's what you would get if you asked me to design a drum machine, which is why it's not a very good drum machine. It's inspired by a lot of the work I was doing recently, or at the time, and subsequently with ERD modules, like all the colors of the noise. And basically what it is two voices, an oscillator, a sine wave oscillator, filter, a VCA, and they feed into one another, and they feed back into each other. So they have feedback amounts and feed forward amounts. And then the output of each of the oscillators is envelope followed and used to create modulation that is subdivisions of the clock created by that oscillator. So all the modulation is subdivisions of the original oscillator. And so as you increase the frequency of the oscillator, you also increase the speed of the modulation. The modulation matrix is on this same page. So we have, for each of the voices, it's color-coded a little bit, pink and purple over here and yellow and green over here, with the green corresponding to this voice and the blue down here corresponding to this voice. And across the top we have these names, 1 out of 4, 1 out of 2, 1 out of 8. And those are the different divisions, and we can change the amount that they're modulating, positive or negative, and also change the destination. So I tried to keep this so that the most important values were around 0 or 0.25 or 0.5 or 0.75. So at 0 you have the oscillator. At 0.5 you have the other voice's oscillator. So each of the destinations is mirrored. You can either modulate that voice or it can modulate the other voice. And we can cycle through the destinations, which correspond roughly to the order of the parameters. So after frequency is the shape of the oscillator, and then alias or frequency, and then we get to one of our pretty important ones, which is VCA level. And we can find the destinations for VCA level at just short of 0.25. Just above 0.25 is the filter frequency, and then the filter resonance, and then the feedback and the feed forward. And I'm not going through each and every one because I think part of the fun is sort of feeling it out, and because it would take a long time to do. But each one of these modulators can be assigned to any one of these destinations, and you can have multiple modulators assigned to those destinations. And we can see the modulation when we look at a given parameter. So we see here the frequency of this oscillator cycling between its lowest frequency and higher. On the second page are some additional options. You can change the um, yellow green voices filter to a bandpass. I don't think it makes a huge difference, but it's there. You can also add this filter switch called noise. I forget what it does, to be honest with you. I've been working on this patch for 2 years, but it sounds pretty cool. And then you have these options here to introduce randomness. This one will replace the yellow and green voices 1/8 division with a random value generated from the positions of the other subdivisions. It's sort of built on Rungler technology in that way. And we have one of those for the other voice as well that works on its 1/64th division. So it's slower than the other. We have two switches here called slow, which just slow down the divisions. They add more divisions essentially, so they push the one half becomes really 1/16th, I think, and everything sort of gets pushed down from there. But it's a way to push this more into like droney territory if you want, or just you can have one on slow mode and one not, and it gives you some options. Then we have a switch here, which lets us choose between some different clock sources. So when the switches are on channel 1, they're using the output of the voice, which is more unstable and produces a more unstable clock, which is prone to stops and starts like we're hearing now. If you want a more stable clock, you can use the second channel oscillator, which is an oscillator that mirrors the first oscillator in its frequency, but only in its frequency. So it doesn't have the FM feedback or feed forward stuff. It doesn't have the wave shaping, anything like that that'll mess around with the sort of regularity of the clock. So you get a more regular output using these oscillators. And then you can just stop it entirely and use these buttons to cycle through the different subdivisions. If, on the other hand, you have this set to these, you can also use these buttons to pause the clock. So when there's no clock, they advance the clock. When there is a clock, they'll pause it in its tracks. You can pause one voice or both or neither. If you're on Zebu, that functionality is mirrored in the gate inputs and the user buttons. And then finally, there's a little bit of an output clipper. With a high pass filter, so you can dial in the low end. So I'm just going to play around with this and get you some different sounds. I should point out that you're really playing the filters in most cases. Like a lot of times, the oscillator is just a source of pinging for the filter module, but you can push the oscillator into audio range. Things get pretty hectic then. Sort of entirely your choice. Um, just put it in slow mode on one of the oscillators. So, yeah, this is a patch I've been working on for a while. It's really deep. I scratched the surface here, but I just wanted to get it out there. Um, like I said, I have some other stuff in mind, but no schedule or anything that you can hold me accountable to. Um, but hopefully, some more stuff in the not too distant future. So, this is Bad Printer, a drone and drama patch for Zoya and Zebu. Check it out. All right, take care.